Hi, greetings, fellow Arrow fans. We're looking at Arrow Season 1 now and continues on with the penultimate episode of Season 1, Darkness on the Edge of Town. Malcolm Merlin, in his dark archer costume, goes to Unitech Industries to tie loose ends by murdering scientists who work on the seismic device that will be used to level the glades. Oliver wants to get information about the undertaking and decided to get some information from his mom. Felicity told him it's a bad idea as the last time he got shot because of it. Oliver told them it will be a friendly mother and son chat. Laura was averted on Oliver's way out. They had a chat about the love triangles. Oliver leaves the conversation saying Walter's coming back and he needs to go back. Later, Walter does come back and the family express their relief. Walter says that after the events, he needed to rest and goes to his room. Thea comments that Walter hasn't been himself, to which Oliver replies that he had gone through a lot. Thea expresses that she is sick of going through a lot. Flashbacks occur too when on Lian Yu when the trio is brought back to Edward's base. Meanwhile, Roy drove Thea in a borrowed car and spotted outside Unitech Industries while the police are investigating. Oliver and John devise a plan where John dresses as the Hood and kidnaps Oliver and Moira in an attempt to uncover the truth about the undertaking. Scene flashes back while Edward reveals to the trio that he plans to cripple the Chinese economy by blowing up an aircraft going into China. The masquerade works on Moira, who tells the Hood what she knows of Malcolm's undertaking. Flashback scene, Yao Fei sneakily hands Oliver a knife to help them escape and agrees on helping Edward with his job. It was then hinted the mastermind of this was a woman behind a desk. Back to the present, due to being unable to hack into Merlin Global, Felicity states that, unless you could plug into the mainframe, it will be highly impossible to get the information they need. Oliver then tells them they shall do it. Oliver's team starts infiltrating the building, although there was a staff member who almost got in the way when Oliver and Felicity were in the lift. Oliver hits the man's documents out of the lift. They successfully go onto the 25th floor via grappling hook, and the plan goes on. Oliver has a meeting with Tommy, where he tells him to return to Laurel. Felicity barely retrieves the information they need in time. Diggle, watching from the security station, calls for Oliver to help extract Felicity, but he is stalled when he runs into Malcolm Merlin, who offers a friendly chat while escorting him downstairs. Meanwhile, Felicity is caught by a security guard but rescued in the nick of time by Diggle, who accuses her of being one of Merlin Jr.'s bimbos. The other guard lets Diggle take her out while Felicity protests how much Tommy loves her, etc. Down in the lobby, Oliver runs into Thea, who is here with Roy trying to trace activities of the Hood. Oliver warns him that the vigilante is a dangerous psychopath that they should keep away from. The two return to Roy's house, but he is not deterred from his search. At the Queen Mansion, Walter reveals that he knew that Moira was part of his kidnapping and gives her divorce papers as a result. At the police station, Quentin Lance is informed the tech guy couldn't hack into Merlin Global, but he did trace a prior hacking attempt to Felicity Smoke at Queen Consolidated. Oliver had convinced Tommy to get back together with Laurel. When he learns that he could give up being the Hood if he stops the undertaking, Oliver decides to reconcile with Laurel himself. At the same time, Tommy, who was outside Laurel's apartment, witnesses Oliver and Laurel becoming physically intimate from the window. In a flashback, Edward shot Yao Fei Golong, after forcing him to take credit for the attacks via video recording being the scapegoat. That night, John goes after the device, but Malcolm learns of the system hack and has the device moved. The Hood attempts to kill Malcolm, reveals to the Hood that he is the other archer. The two fight and Malcolm gets the upper hand, discovering Oliver's secret. However, he seems to express regret for beating him up after unmasking him. So let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. This is the first time that the 22nd episode of a season of Arrow shares the name of a Bruce Springsteen song, the 1978 title track from the album Darkness on the Edge of Town. This pattern is continued into later seasons. Season 2 Streets of Fire, Season 3's This Is Your Sword, Season 4's Lost in Flood, Season 5's Missing, and Season 6's The Ties That Bind. Darkness on the Edge of Town also marks the first of two penultimate episodes to be named after a song that was taken on the same Springsteen album, the other being Streets of Fire. This last episode of Byron Man is Yao Fei, not counting the brief appearance of his corpse in the next episode, until Season 5's Missing, which aired 4 years after this episode, and Season 8's Purgatory. While breaking into Merlin Global Group, when John Diggle saved Leslie Smoke as a security guard taken away when Tommy Merlin's bimbos, he calls her Barbie, based off Leslie's appearance as a pretty blonde girl. The journaliner that Edward fires once to take down belongs to Ferris Airlines. In the DC Comics, Carol Ferris is the on-off girlfriend of Green Lantern Hal Jordan and the owner of Ferris Airlines. This episode marks the fifth main character to discover Oliver's hood, the others being Diggle, Helena Bertinelli, Felicity, and Tommy. Malcolm Merlin is also the first main antagonist to discover Oliver's identity. This episode aired on Stephen Amell's birthday. Nice. So now finally let's take a look at some goofs surrounding this episode. When Oliver enters the Merlin Global Group building, he tells the receptionist he has an 11:30 meeting with Tommy. However, when Oliver approaches Tommy's office, a digital clock can be viewed on Tommy's desk reading 5:38. In the very next shot of Oliver, the same clock reads 5:35. Later, as Oliver is about to leave, one final shot shows the clock slightly out of focus, reading 5:36. The changing time can likely be explained as shots from different takes being used in the final version of the episode. The fact that the time was not closer to their meeting time, 11:30, is likely an oversight. When discussing the data that Felicity downloaded from Merlin's global mainframe, she says, "There's at least a teraflop of data to go through." As an IT expert, Felicity would not have made this mistake. A teraflop is a measure of processing speed, not data quantity, for which the correct term would be terabyte. So overall, this episode is actually pretty darn good, and it definitely doesn't surprise me that Malcolm kind of figured out that Oliver was the hood and so on and so forth. So So overall, I give Darkness on the Edge of Town 4 Airheads out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in a bit as we check out the final episode of Season 1, Sacrifice. So, until then, in the words of Oliver Queen, you have failed this city.